So I do have an estranged mother, and it's simply because she wouldn't distance herself from her boyfriend when she knew how bad of a man he was. So I cut them both off. And when I cut them both off, my mom, she's coming back all this time later to say she should have listened to me. It turns out that her boy toy cheated on her, but he didn't stop there. He did something so much worse, and you guys won't even guess it. Warning. This story contains slight, non-detailed mentions of non-consensual acts. If there's one thing I know about this life, is that you'll never have to know what to expect. Always be ready for anything because the plot twist never ends. I would know because, well, my life has consisted of those from the age of 17, when I became homeless and lost my mom. Save the condolences, guys. She did not pass away, she was just a crappy mother who prioritized her sleazy boyfriend over me. Tell me why that same mom is at my doorstep 7 years later begging for a place to stay. I don't even know how she found me. I had no warning whatsoever that she was coming. She just showed up in tears begging me to take her in because she had lost everything. My husband, who only knew that I did not like to talk about her, was perplexed. The only thing I told him was that he would have never met her. Now, here she was in the flesh trying to get me to pity her, thinking that I would forget all the hurt that she inflicted on me. I could not even look at her or listen to her stupid explanation before I told my husband to have her escorted out. Then I left. I told him that that woman gave birth to me, but she was not a mother to me. She was an absolute stranger who did not deserve our help. I love my husband, Grant, a lot, but I hate how kind he is sometimes. When will he learn that not everybody can be helped? How can it be that the same trait that made me fall in love with him is the only thing that annoys me the most? You see, while I love how he balances me out with his empathy and kindness, sometimes you need to be logical. That woman cannot just come out of nowhere now that I'm successful and try to weasel her way into my life. Maybe I should have been sterner with my husband, because tell me why. 20 minutes later, he came to speak to me. The worst part is that I cannot resist him, especially how his eyes get when someone has touched his heart. He told me that my mom was in serious trouble. Her ex-boyfriend had cheated on her, took everything she owed, and kicked her out. When she tried to fight, they got into an altercation where he pulled a firearm on her. She had been couch hopping for a while, but she was running out of places to go. She had a job. How was she stuck? I told him that I didn't care what excuse that she made. I did not want her in my home. As I was speaking to him, my mind drifted to the past. All the work I've done to heal myself and not think about the past became undone in a second. Suddenly, I was the 17-year-old terrified girl telling her mom that the man her mother loved was making me feel uncomfortable. See, my dad passed away when I was 10. My mom only started dating when I was 14. Unfortunately, the men she dated were terrible, and she also changed. She started drinking, dressing like young people, and hanging out with some terrible folk. She abandoned me at home most of the time, and I had to take care of my lonesome. I tried not to be too angry because sometimes the old man of my mom came out. Things changed for the worse when she met Randy. Randy was very nice in the beginning, and I actually liked him. When he moved in, I was okay with it because it felt like we were about to become a happy family again. What a fool I was for thinking such a thing. Soon Randy started acting weird toward me and make me feel uncomfortable. When Mom was present, he was so good to me. In her absence, he stalked me and made all these sick comments. I didn't want to tell her what was happening because Randy had a good job, paid most of our bills, and most of all, he brought out happy Mom. However, one day he went too far, and I had to say something. When I showed Mom my torn skirt, she was confused. When I told her what he attempted to do but failed, she just zoned out. She told me that Randy would never do such a thing. I have to stop making up stories. Well, that evening it was my birthday, and Randy bought me a birthday cake and presents. The cake could not go down, and I hated the presents. You know, he bought me a new skirt and told me he noticed that I had torn it. What a clumsy girl I was. Mom laughed along with it despite what I told her. She told me to thank him and maybe start calling him Dad. As soon as she said that, I lost my dinner. My mom gets angry and told me to act right. She asked why I was so ungrateful when Randy himself had gone through so much trouble to be a good father. I got angry and told her that Randy would never be a good dad because a good dad did not harass his daughter. I was tired and needed her to believe me. I shouted at Randy and told him to stop pretending. He knew what he tried to do to me, and he only got interrupted by a loud noise outside. Shortly after, Mom came back home and he could not hurt me. Randy smiled and said that I was overreacting. Next thing I knew, my mom stood up, went to my room, and packed some clothing. She gave me a couple of bills and told me to get the hell out of her house. I remember that I stood by the door begging her to let me in for hours before I left. Now she was here because the same Randy had shown her his true colors. I controlled myself in front of Grant even though my hand shook. Slowly his calming voice grounded me. He said that it was quite late, maybe she could sleep in the cottage outside. Well, I agreed, but told him that she had to leave by the next day. I didn't care what led her here, but she did not belong in my life. She has no idea how hard it was to navigate life as a teenage girl with no one. It's a wonder that I'm now 25, a property developer, and married to my husband Grant, who is the owner of multiple development companies. One would never guess my background looking at me. I've carefully concealed all reminders of my past. My mother is a harsh reminder of how weak I was. She's a harsh reminder of how worthless and unlovable I felt after so many years. It baffles me that she had the nerve to track me down and ask me for help. Grant and I allowed her to stay for the night, but we'll speak tomorrow. I spoke to her for a moment before she went to bed. She tried to hug me, but I moved out of the way, and Grant gave us a moment to speak, and as soon as he was gone, I could not hold my tongue. I told her that she would have rather taken her chance on the streets than come to my house. She was unwelcome. I hated her, and was glad that Randy showed her his true colors. The whole time she was looking down and very teary. Her look of defeat did nothing to pacify me, and I felt no pity for someone who had earned all the pain she was in. In fact, I felt she deserved so much more. What kind of mother chose a sleazy, creepy man over her teenage daughter? If not the kindness of strangers, I would have ended up in a ditch. I reached out to her many times, asking to be taken back, but she refused. She was lucky my husband was such a kind man. She had to know that it was thanks to his kindness that she had a place to sleep. If it were up to me, she would be sleeping under a bridge. I told her to enjoy the luxuries of my house while she could. She was not going to stay there one day longer. With that, I walked away from her, and I've not been able to sleep. Just knowing that she's, this priority of this property, what should I do? How do I get her and all those memories out of my head? Guys, I feel like I'm actually going crazy. Update number 1. 2 weeks later. I've been staring at my screen for close to 10 minutes trying to figure out how to put all this into words. Where do I start? I decided to just write, so my mother's still here. I know. What the hell is she doing here, right? Well, those of you who told me that she would use this as a way into our lives were right. She's now staying with us for the time being, and worst of all, I cannot kick her out without looking like a jerk. So now I have to face the reason for my trauma every day. How did we get here, you may ask? Well, the next morning we went to wake her up and found her with a very high fever. She was sick for hours and claimed to have not slept. After she felt a bit better, she claimed that she was ready to go. But then my husband insisted that we call a doctor just to have her checked out. The doctor was able to confirm that she had a high fever and needed bed rest. She was very weak and could not go anywhere. The next part is the messed up part. I cursed my soft heart for landing me in this. My husband and I discussed our options and agreed that my mom could stay with us for a while till her fever went down, and it would not do for her to travel in such a state. So, she could stay for a while and figure something else out, and I admit that I agreed to this because I was not really coerced. I also say this as an opportunity to deal with all the unresolved feelings. I need to talk to her about what happened and get proper apologies. If I faced this head on, maybe I would deal with the trauma. How I wish it was that easy. My mom made sure to avoid talking about what happened the entire time. She spent most of her time either in bed or with my hubby. When she first started following him around, I thought I was seeing things. So I quietly observed her and noticed that she was always around him. They actually seemed to get along, which irked me. She had time to bond with him, but not say sorry to me. I decided to try harder to address what happened. One afternoon, while we were in the kitchen, I told her the fact that she had not apologized for what she did bothered me. She then said that I had turned out okay. Why did I need to forgive her? I looked at her like she was crazy, and she shrugged. She said that she was enjoying being part of my life again and really wanted to move on from my ugly past. I told her that she did not get to do that. She did not get to sweep what happened under the rug just because she fancied it. She hurt me and was refusing to take accountability. Clearly, she was still selfish. By then, I was yelling, and she started coughing uncontrollably. It was the perfect time for my hubby to walk in, and you can imagine how it seemed. Now, my husband feels bad and wants her to stay a bit longer. Apparently, she complained to him about how mean I was being towards her. She deserved the way I'm treating her. She did not apologize for what she put me through, and it frustrates me, man. You know what? I'm not going to accept this. This is my house. I'm going to speak to my husband right now. She's not staying any longer than needed. I promise you that. Update number 2. Guys, it's been 3 long weeks. Ugh, that woman's driving me insane, and I will do something that I'm gonna regret. You know, I don't know how she's done it, but she's managed to stay in our house and act like the owner, and my husband's really hardly home to see all this, but she's actually trying to control me. Can you believe that? Control me? Well, I've spoken to him, but he is also stressed because of work, and I know talking his ear off is useless when he's stressed like this. I know because I'm in the same position when I'm stressed. So I keep on putting off doing something about her because so many other things are occupying my mind. Because of how absent-minded I've been, time has passed and she has slowly taken over. In addition to that, she's helping herself to our generosity and has even had a glow-up. When she showed up, she was sick and looked homeless. Now she has new hair, new clothes, and has even picked up weight. She's also becoming very confident and is always offering me advice that I did not ask for. Since my husband's barely home, she spends a lot of time annoying me. I've told her to get a job or a hobby, but she has done none of that. I'm honestly not interested in anything she has to say. And in addition to that, she's even changed some things around the house. I didn't notice for a while because of how big our house is, and when I confronted her, she feigned innocence and said that, well, was how she kept herself busy since I did not want to spend time with her. She made sure to mention that little fact once again at dinner when my husband was present. This was after dressing like she was going to a 5-star restaurant. I did not put it to mind in the beginning stages. There was no way that my mom would be brave enough to go after my hubby, right? He's 20 years her junior. He would never look at her. Why would she try? Well, I was wrong, because I swear my mom's trying to make moves on my man. I get how controversial and crazy it is to imagine that, so I've said nothing about it. However, something happened recently that has me overthinking, you know? I could not hold it in anymore. I had to tell my hubby what I thought. It so happened that my husband booked a nice outing, just the two of us. He booked for us to go into a resort and actually surprised me that morning. He called in and got me 2 days off and also made sure I had no task that day. One thing about him is that even if he's busy, he's always going to be romantic. We take care of each other in that way, and I have not said anything about my mom all week, and have only taken care of him when he came home tired. He told me that he really wanted to thank me for being such a good wife. Well, tell me how. My mother managed a third wheel on our trip. Not only that, but she wore an extra skimpy outfit and was so close to my man. My mom might be 50. But she looks like she's in her late 30s, I'll give her that. I have the same good genes, which is the only thing that I'm grateful for. I was sidelined the whole day and ended up feeling bad. My husband noticed and later on asked, and I warned him about my mom because she had an eye on him. Well, Grant just laughed and said that she would never look at him in that way. She was his mother-in-law. I reminded him of the way that she dressed, but he said that he couldn't speak on that. I get frustrated and told him that I did not appreciate how he let her come with us. He's too nice, and some people mistake that for interest. I mean, I was confused when I first met him because I could not tell if he was flirting or being a nice guy. It took us so long to get together because of that. Well, Grant assured me that he did not see her in that way. Duh, and nor did she see him. He then told me that she really wished that I could open up to her. Guys, I was honestly annoyed at this point and decided to drop the subject. I don't know what to do. I'm starting to resent Grant for not being able to put up boundaries. There is such a thing as being too nice, I promise. Updates number 3. Guys, it's been a while. 3 days, 72 hours later. What did I say about being too nice is a problem? One thing about me is that I do not make allegations about people. When I accuse someone of something, it'll be for a reason. People think that I'm overreacting most of the time, but end up telling me that I'm right. My husband just came to our room with his shirt undone and red in the face. He told me I was right. Mom was trying to make a move. I actually laughed when he told me that, which got him confused. He asked if I was not crazy. Why am I laughing? I reminded him of our conversation 71 hours ago. He swore that she was being nice and would never try to get with him in that manner. But look now, I was completely right. According to him, this is how it went down. I said that I would be going for a meeting and left, and Mom saw me leave. But then I found out that I had gotten the wrong date as I pulled up to the driveway, since I did not have any more in-person meeting that day. I made my way back to the house, but she did not see me. I was supposed to be gone that afternoon till the evening, and I finished work early, got myself a glass of wine, and relaxed with a book in bed. When my husband got home, he decided to shower downstairs before seeking me out. My mom must have thought that they were home alone because as he was getting undressed in the bathroom, she entered and tried to seduce him. He turned down her advances, but she became forceful. He overpowered her and ran upstairs, hoping that I'd be home, screaming. If I was not home, he was going to call me immediately because he was spooked out. The poor dude was shaking as he told me that she was wearing nothing. Oh, shame, he was utterly terrified. I laughed at him for a while longer before I decided to deal with my mom. When I found her in her room, she was shocked that I was home. She was very jumpy and tried to act normal, but I cut to the chase. I told her to pack everything. Leave my house. The gig is up. My husband told me what she did, and she starts crying and said that it was not what it seemed. He was the one who was into her. She said that she really did not see him in that way. So I showed her the security footage of that day. It showed her watching him get into the bathroom and following him. Moments later, my husband ran out, shirt unbuttoned, and she came out moments later looking angry and stomping her feet. She did not look scared at all. I asked her if she was certain because we could organize a lie detector test. She was utterly speechless, embarrassed, and I asked if she was still mad because Randy looked at me in that way. I was a child and saw him as a father figure. I never wanted him in that way. I hate it that after all this time she hated me and wanted revenge. I also told her to get real. My hubby loves me. His niceness did not mean he wanted her. She never, ever needed to do this again, and she needs to check herself. And with that, I gave her an hour to pack her crap and leave. An hour later, she was finally out of my life, and I could breathe. You know, I could not believe that the charade had gone on for so long. Either way, I was glad that my husband saw the truth with his own eyes. I'm still mad at him for not taking my side, though, and he's going to have to work very hard to get my forgiveness. But for now, I'm going to be comfortable around him because he's traumatized by what happened. Heck, I would be too if I was in that spot. This is the final update. Well, 4 months later. Oh man, guys. If you thought kicking her out was the end of this, think again. I had no idea the can of worms that I had just opened. My mother decided to send me nasty messages after we kicked her out. In addition, she starts to message our friends and spread lies about my hubby. Luckily, we were able to explain, and the people believed us, especially after I told them what she did to me. It was also the first time I told my husband the full story. I've been grappling with whether I want anyone to know my story. I had this fear that people would see me as a weak person because of it. But I was wrong. I got so much support after I told my story, and I'm so proud of myself for it. After we cleared his reputation, we decided to press charges against my mom for defamation of character. That was definitely enough to silence her, and for a while all was quiet, until the day I got a call from one of her friends. She said that she found my number in my mom's phone. My mom was in jail for fighting with her boyfriend. The boyfriend who had also been arrested, but for something completely unrelated. I hope you're sitting down for this next part. Apparently, she got back with Randy, but he continued to see his girlfriend. My mom found out, and this time she fought him. While the police were taking her statement, they found out that Randy was actually dating someone who was, get this, not legal age. He got arrested firstly for fighting and also for dating a young girl. It appears that he has not changed even after all these years, guys. I was not crazy when I told my mom he was a creep. She was just too desperate to stay away from him because he treated her better than the rest. I wish that she had stood up for me, her daughter. Instead, she let me down, and I've been unable to, get over it. There, I have to admit that my past really messed me up. I'm getting a lot of help, but I must say that those two getting what they deserved has healed a lot. Randy got himself some long time in prison. After all the evidence was said and done, 20 years is what he got, and my mom's apparently going to be in there for a year. It turns out that she also hurt Randy's girlfriend, or I should not call her that, she's a victim. The world is so much better without those two roaming all over town. You best believe I'm happy my mother's in jail. She tried to steal my life, and after failing, tried to ruin my husband's reputation, guys. You know what? Call it what you want, but I do not wish her well.